Father Joseph Manton, who preached the OLPH Novena here at the Mission Church for over 50 years, once told the story about meeting a young mother coming out of the Basilica on the feast of Mary's birthday. She told him how she had taken her 3-year-old daughter to visit Our Lady's shrine. As she pointed to Mary's picture, she whispered to her daughter that the day happened to be God's mother's birthday. The little girl clapped her hands and immediately launched into singing, "Happy Birthday to Mary." As she came to an uncertain finish, she took a deep breath and said to her mother with great delight, "Now we have to blow out the candles." And with that, she began to blow out all the flickering candles along the first row of vigil lights. This month, we celebrated Mary's birthday on September the 8th. This day, which the Church has set, is arbitrary, since we really have no idea what her actual birth date was. But every human person has to have a birth date, right? Mary is very important in Catholic tradition on many levels. So it's fitting that even if we don't know the actual date of her birth, we pick one and stick to it. If we did that for Jesus on December the 25th, we can do it for Mary. That's our Church. The little girl singing Happy Birthday to Mary was so spontaneous, and yet it would not be unusual for her as a child, because children are less inhibited than adults when it comes to expressing their feelings. After all, singing Happy Birthday is one of the ways we express our love for someone who is important in our life. That being the case, I'm going to step out of my comfort zone a little and share with you the way I celebrated Mary's birthday. When I woke up that morning, after reflecting on the Word and saying my rosary, I decided to write a letter to Mary and put it under her picture that hangs in my bedroom. This gesture of writing to Mary and putting a letter under her picture is something that we seminarians were encouraged to do during my high school years in the seminary. You can imagine how a young adolescent boy, being 500 miles away from home, would find such comfort in writing to Mary, whom we had quickly adopted as our mother away from home, who was always there for us. In writing to her, I found that I could express all my feelings and ask for all the help I needed. It proved to be of great value then, and it's still of value now. So here are my thoughts, which I've edited a little now that I know that I'm going to share them with you. Dearest Mary, it is delightful to reflect upon your birth. We're so very accustomed to wishing people happy birthday, but I don't think I've ever really taken the time to acknowledge your birthday in a personal way. I don't think I've stopped to thank God for the day you were born. It must have been an amazing day in the history of creation. I'm sure it was an ordinary day in Nazareth. Of course, your parents were excited, as were neighbors and friends. None of them could have known the rejoicing in heaven on that day. It was the plan of the Trinity to send the second person to become one of us, to save this human race from its mad free fall into sin and death. That plan, through your birth, was about to come to pass. Your conception opened the door to salvation for us all. By God's grace, the saving grace your Son would win for us, which would liberate all of us from sin and death's power, touched you there and then. You were born free. You would be born full of grace. As a human person, I have many questions. They may sound childish, but they are mine. I wonder if the sun was shining all day that day. Did the birds sing more joyfully that morning? Did a very young boy named Joseph hear about your birth, perhaps just a few homes down from the street from his? I thank you, Mary, for my life. I thank you for your openness and for your yes. I thank you for how you raised Jesus to be so full of compassion and to be a friend of sinners and the poor. I thank you for being such a strong and comforting presence to the apostles in those early days of waiting for the coming of the Holy Spirit. Most of all, I personally thank you for your role in my life. I have always loved you since I was a child, but I have grown to love you more through following your Son and listening to his story again and again in the Scriptures. The one thing I ask you is to help me to continue to know you and to appreciate your care and availability in our lives. So today, Mary, on your birthday, I want to simply and sincerely ask you the prayer St. Alphonsus would pray to you. Dear Mary, place me with your Son. Let me know him, love him, and serve him more closely. Stand guard over my heart and let his gift of peace remain there when the everyday disturbances of life threaten to take it away. And finally, Holy Mary, Mother of my God, pray for me, a sinner, now and at the hour of my death. Every Marian feast, and there are many, is a reminder of the importance of the Blessed Virgin Mary in our Catholic tradition. Using that title alone, Blessed Virgin, tells us things that people have written long books about. Mary has her official theological status in Catholic tradition, but she means many things in many cultures to many people on a more emotional and spiritual level. When someone has that kind of spiritual clout, I think it's a good idea to remember their birthday.